This is the 2024 update for the CPP basics. Everything you need to know about the CPP you can learn about in this video. So let's go back from the very basics to when you're contributing and to what to expect when you actually retire, as well as decisions that you can make later on. So let's go and start from the beginning. How does the CPP work? The Canada Pension Plan provides monthly benefits to Canadian retirees, usually at 65. However, you can start taking it up early as soon as 60 years old. You can also opt to defer it as far back as 70. You and your employer will make contributions to your CPP throughout your career. The funds are then invested and managed by an independent board that oversees its viability, so that it's around when it's your time to draw an income. So how much do you really need to put into the CPP? Based on the current rules, you have to, meaning it's not optional, you have to put 5.95% of any income you earn above $3,500 up to the annual ceiling, known as the yearly maximum pensionable earnings limit, or YMPE for short. This year, it's $68,500. This amount is then matched by your employer. If you're self-employed, you'll have to make both contributions, doubling your required CPP contributions. Now, we're in the middle of implementing a multi-phase, multi-year CPP enhancement. It's designed to increase the CPP benefits up to 50% once it's completed. So it's a good benefit for most Canadians. As it stands, the CPP is structured to replace about 1/4 of the average Canadian's income in retirement. Once enhancements are done, it's earmarked to replace about 1/3 of the current working income. One of the changes that's happening in 2024 is that there will now be a secondary contributory tier above the YMPE that I just discussed. This second ceiling is roughly 7% higher than the base YMPE, which should enhance your CPP benefits if you are a higher income earner. In summary, if you're used to maxing out your EI and CPP contributions, that will likely happen one paycheck later. Let's go through this and let's pretend that you expect to earn $120,000 this year. In 2023, you would have needed to make CPP contributions at 5.95% from income between $3,500 to $66,600, which would have amounted to $3,754 if you're employed, or $7,509 if you are self-employed. You would need to pay both employee and employer contributions, right? So it doesn't matter if you earned above $66,600 in 2023. That was last year's ceiling. You only make contributions up to that amount. That's why halfway through the year, you're no longer having to make CPP contributions. It's no longer taken out of your paycheck. In 2024, not only did the YMPE increase based on indexation and inflation, we now have that secondary limit. So the YMPE in 2024 is $68,500. That brings your base contributions to $3,867.50 as an employee. This is the first year where we have that secondary income threshold that's about 7% higher. In 2024, that's $73,200 as a secondary ceiling. This is known as the yearly additional maximum pensionable earnings, YAMPE. Yampi? That sounds like some foreign delicacy, but maybe I'm just hungry. Now, the enhanced CPP contribution between the base YMPE and the secondary ceiling is 4%. This means on top of the $3,800, you would also need to make an additional contribution of $188, bringing your total CPP contribution to $4,055.50 for 2024. I actually think, even though it's a little bit more in contributions, I think it's worth it since most people are in need of additional forced savings mechanisms. Just from where I'm standing and the constant conversations that I'm having, a little bit of extra discipline helps. It's so that they're less reliant on their personal savings and other social assistance programs that may or may not be around. Think about the OAS. You're not really making contributions to that. So that's just a tax change that could impact that. This is a common question. Can I rely on the CPP to be there when I retire? Now, despite all the negative spins and the constant fear mongering and the constant conspiracy theories around the CPP Investments has done a great job to make sure the fund does exactly what it's supposed to be doing. They're independent because they don't work for the government, right? They work for you and me and all the other contributors. The investment choices and strategies in the fund are quite stable. For now, the board operates for you and me, regardless of what the parties in power are doing. The CPP is also audited every 3 years. And that audit is published so that we can see the viability estimate of the fund, seeing what the asset base looks like, seeing what the contributions looks like, and comparing that with the payouts that they're estimating. The last report gives us a sustainability rating of 75 years. So that's within my lifetime. And that's very likely within your lifetime. The way that the funds are invested is actually well thought out, it's prudent, and it's really well diversified. So in my opinion, it's going to be there, and compared to how other people are investing on their own, or they're swayed by fear and emotions, that's another reason why I think a little bit of forced savings goes a long way. The other issue here is that changing the CPP the other way, where it reduces viability, is honestly career suicide. Right now, there's still, I'm not sure if it's still ongoing, but there's been a move to try to create an Alberta pension plan. I think that would be harmful to the CPP and our flows. That's not really the point of this video, but I would be leaning towards keeping our CPP more stable, even though I'm from Alberta. So with all of that said, I can say that we can rely on the CPP to provide a foundation for most Canadians when they retire. So how much can I expect to get out of the CPP? The current maximum is $1,364.60. That's up from $1,306.57 in 2023. But the average benefit that was actually paid out in October of 2023 was a lot lower than that. It was at $758.32. These amounts are then adjusted to inflation annually based on CPI. There's a messy multi-step calculation to determine how much you'll actually receive. It's best to just visit Service Canada's website right now to get your personalized estimate. I'm not saying that's accurate, but it gives you a baseline on where to start. A rough idea to give you is that if you're maxing out your contributions and in your CPP contributions stop in the middle of the year, it means that you're maxing out your CPP, and you do that consistently throughout your career, it's very likely that you'll receive close to the maximum amount. But if you're paying into the CPP well until the end of the year, until your final paycheck, it's likely that you'll have a lower CPP than the maximum. Now, even if you have a few years where you made little or no CPP contribution, there is a general dropout provision of 17%, which means that if you've worked from 18 to 65, you can leave out about 8 years of low contributions, and that should increase your average earnings and your average contributions. Here's another note for parents and parents-to-be. Beyond and on top of the general dropout provision, you can also look at the child rearing provisions. This allows you to further drop years of low contributions as long as you have a dependent child under 7 years old at the time. So if you're in a couple, either one of you can opt for the child rearing provision, but it's not automatic. I guess not for the most part. So you still have to call and let Service Canada know, give them your kids' birthdays and how long you took care of them. That could help increase your CPP benefit. This is very helpful because we've seen this again and again, where we could actually win back a few $100s of CPP payments. Imagine that over your retirement. That's a big impact. So when you apply for this yourself and you're getting less than the maximum amount and you've raised kids, definitely look into this. Now, any period where you would have been eligible for CPP disability will also affect how much you'd get in your CPP. So make sure you look at and you review all those things if you happen to have claimed CPP disability. Can I take the CPP early? The regular CPP benefit starts at 65 years old, but you can get it as early as 60, but this reduces your benefits significantly. It reduces it by 0.6% of your benefit every month you are taking it before you're 65 years old. So at 60, you could potentially reduce your CPP by 36%. 36% reduction in guaranteed income doesn't make sense to me. If you're still working and there are still a few years left, I see very, very few circumstances where I would be compelled to withdraw my CPP sooner. Now, even if you're older than 60, for the most part, this reduction in CPP, it reduces an inflation-adjusted income source. So this increases your reliance on your own investments and your own ability to manage that, especially when the cost of living has been increasing as drastically as they have. Can I delay my CPP withdrawal? Absolutely. And if you've watched any of our videos in the past, we have a clear, I don't want to say bias, but I definitely like the idea of deferring the CPP for as long as possible because there's a benefit to that, right? By taking the CPP later, you will benefit from a 0.7% increase in your CPP income every month. So if you delay it until you're 70 years old, you would have an increase of 42% to your guaranteed inflation-adjusted income source. It's very tough to beat that. So when should I take my CPP? It depends. Some have this belief that the government will just mismanage their money, so they draw it as soon as possible, while others believe that delaying their CPP for as long as possible allows them to max out and top up the benefits. The simple answer really here relies on life expectancy. I have a bias towards delaying it. I think I already mentioned that. But if you believe you're not gonna live very long, it might be better to just take the CPP sooner. But a better solution to understanding this takes your overall picture into consideration. You can't just look at the CPP in a vacuum. You have to consider other sources of income, whether they're taxable, non-taxable, or whether they're subjected to required minimum withdrawals like the RIF distributions. What if you have other sources that you don't really need? We already have videos that give an overview for the overall retirement income planning and deciding which buckets of income to take from, so you can get a feel for other decision factors that'll help answer this CPP question. We already have a case study video showing the pros and cons of taking CPP early. Check the links below. And I even have follow-up videos addressing why you should take CPP earlier and giving you the circumstances where you would consider that and where you would look at those a little bit later. So beyond retirement income, what else can the CPP do for me aside from the CPP benefit? Canadians also get access to CPP disability. In fact, a stat that's stuck in my head, I think this came from Jason Watt, he's saying that 20% of all CPP payouts are for disability. So if you're an individual who suffers from a severe and a prolonged disability and you are contributing to the CPP, the calculation for the CPP disability is beyond the scope of this video. However, it's important that you know that it exists. If you qualify for the CPP disability and have dependent children, they could also qualify for some CPP children's benefit. So I have to make sure I say that and direct you to other resources. Everything that I'm talking about will be in the links below. So what if you pass away before you get your CPP? Is there a survivor's benefit? That really depends on your family situation and how long you've been contributing to the CPP. If you have a spouse or a partner or children, they may be eligible for survivor benefits, where they will get a portion of your CPP benefit entitlements as a monthly benefit. For your spouse to qualify, they must have been married for at least a year. If you're single with no dependents, unfortunately, the only benefit from the CPP right now is a $2,500 death benefit. So your CPP contributions, that income entitlement, doesn't go to your parents. It doesn't go to other family members aside from your spouse. So if you're unattached by the time you pass, even if you paid tens of thousands of dollars into the CPP throughout your career, there's no benefit beyond the $2,500 death benefit. Here's what most people find surprising. The combined maximum for the CPP survivor pension Plus, your personal CPP is capped to the current year's CPP maximum and another reduction formula. This means if you're already receiving the maximum CPP benefit yourself and your spouse passes away, your CPP likely will not actually go up. OAS doesn't have a survivor benefit either. So if your retirement plan hinges on both you and your spouse receiving the full CPP, or a big part of your income relies on CPP and OAS payments, make sure your financial planner runs a risk analysis of what if either of you pass away earlier. What impact would that have on your sustainable retirement income? What would it look like for the surviving spouse? Will it be enough for them? If not, consider maintaining life insurance into retirement, or maybe having a backup plan for what kind of a reduced retirement lifestyle is feasible for them. So here's a few closing thoughts on the CPP. Think of the CPP as a defined benefit plan. You make contributions today, the investments are locked in, you can't touch it, you can't manage it, and you have no emotional attachment to the choices either, which I believe has been the reason why the funds do so well. The June 2023 report shows that the 10-year annualized net return of the CPP fund is at 10%. That's a much better return than most Canadians would ever get. So most investors who exert effort and time and focus to time investments don't even get that. They likely get less than that because of fear and greed. I know some of you think that you can do better than that, but I have a follow-up video where we analyze what it would look like for you if you took the CPP at 60, kept working, got the post-retirement benefits, and then invested the CPP so that you finally make the withdrawals for those dollars when you get to 65. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work. The CPP will be an anchor source of income for most of you. And having that guaranteed source of income in retirement helps you enjoy and spend more than if you didn't have it. There's countless studies that show this. We've worked with enough clients to understand that unless they have a fairly secure source of income, they're very hesitant to spend and live their life. So you simply can't think of the CPP uptake just on its break even. It doesn't make sense. It's not about getting your money back or your contributions back as fast as possible. This decision can add tens of thousands of dollars to your retirement, or it could cost you just as much. It's too important to screw up. So if you want someone to review your situation, check out our links below for a fee-for-service retirement plan and see if that's right for you. You can also check our free resources at retirementlaunch.com. If this was valuable at all, please hit the like button, subscribe. It helps YouTube show our content to more people which would benefit from something like this. Happy planning, happy retirement. Cheers.